after 4 days and 3 nights of wearing the white uniform of a monk's apprentice, it was finally time for the ceremony where I would bod, or become a full-fledged monk. You might say become ordained. And during those first few days as a monk, of course, I made a few mistakes, and I made this recording just to document for myself some of the mistakes I made so I wouldn't make them in the future and that I could learn from my mistakes. The first day we set up a bunch of tables and got food ready at the house where we'd have the after ceremony. And then we drove to a local temple, not the temple where I was to serve, and had the actual ceremony where I became a monk, and I switched from my white knock uniform to the brown robes of a full-fledged monk. I don't know whether this will make it to YouTube, but I want to remember some of the mistakes I've made. I'm being taught trial by fire, which is a good way of teaching, and it's a good way for me to learn. In other words, I show up, something's wrong, and it's fixed on the spot. Remember, I am not a native speaker of Thai, although I do speak and understand some Thai. I am in no way native, and especially when it comes to terms involving consciousness, things of the spirit and Buddhism. A lot of the words, really all the words, have Pali words. So there's the Thai word and the Pali language word, which is an ancient Indian language. So you can see how there are a lot of areas for misinterpretation. However, I am mostly thrown out there and do the best I can, kind of winging it. สมองมันไม่มีทางแปลบาลีไทยอังกฤษ3 ภาษา Oh, yeah. I just want to document a few of the things that I've done wrong so far. I was 3 days as a knock, and I've been a monk for 2 days now. So during the 5 days, one of the things I did at ceremony, I have a hard time sitting because I'm well past middle age, and I had knee surgery. I still walk okay, but I have issues with it. And so I have to sit long, extended periods of time with your knees bent, sitting on your knees. You've probably seen Buddhist monks, the way they sit for hours. Well, I don't know about hours, but they sit for a long time with your butt on your heels or flat on the ground. It's just really difficult for me. So my leg goes numb. I have to pinch myself. I have a lot of issues with that. So at one point I was lifting my knees a little bit, and this is already at the end of the ceremony anyway. A lady was pointing at me, and a Thai gentleman, one of the senior guys there who was not a monk, got up and said to me, he doesn't speak English much, he said, "You leave, go now," or something like that. So I had to get up and walk out. But it was concluding anyway. Everybody was finishing. Bin Tabat is when you go get alms from the villagers. The villagers put rice into your bat, which is a metal pot. They put rice and snacks and food, stuff that they want you to eat in there. It's part of a process of kindness, to where when you do things, you do something to reciprocate that puts things back in balance. So if you got angry at someone and then you give somebody rice, it kind of puts things more into balance. It's a conceptual thing that is for another video. But we go out in Bin Tabat. We walk barefoot through the streets. And the streets, they're full of pebbles. They're rocky. We're way out in the countryside. This is called a jungle wat. When they talk about this type of temple, they call it a Wat Ba. Ba means jungle. So it's not a temple in Bangkok where you're walking out onto the street, and it's just different. It's just very, very, very different. I can't compare. I haven't been to those other Wats in Bangkok, at least as a monk. We're going to gather over here. Whichever vehicle will start and whichever vehicle works, we'll jump into to head to the village. The dogs are pretty chill this time of day. They're not all barking and howling like they do at night or when you bang the gong. My first day of actual Bin Tabat, I had done 3 days Bin Tabat as a nak or a novice monk, so I'm wearing all white, and I was okay to navigate the streets. But the thing is, you can't look like you're walking gingerly. You're selecting your steps. You're supposed to walk calmly and serenely. So it's dark when you wake up because the power goes out while you're, well, I wasn't sleeping much, so I was still awake, and the fan stops is what I notice. But you wake up in the morning, I've got to collect my stuff, and yes, I have a small flashlight, but you got to wake up in the morning, and it's kind of complicated. All the gear, you have to put it on. The way you set it up, it's taken a lot of practice. I'm still not good at it at all. So you're doing it in the dark, and then you have your bat, which is the round metal thing that they put the food into when you walk through the village. And the village is a good distance from here because, again, we are in the jungle. We're not next to any city or village. So we have to get in a car to get there, and then we get within walking distance. We walk the rest of the way, and we walk through the village. So I come walking out, and there are people waiting for the Farang monk the first time to step out of the guti. Guti is where the monks stay, where we sleep. And I see people with their phones out and a big iPad. I don't know if there were cameras or whatever. And I'm walking. Here comes the Farang, first day of Bin Tabat as a monk. And this is the bat that you're supposed to be carrying. As you can see, it's round and brown and has a strap. And I was carrying my tung, which is brown and kind of round and has a strap. So I wish I had a video of the looks on people's faces when I went walking down. They're like, oh, here he comes. And I'm walking, and I hear laughter because I'm carrying the wrong thing. So I have to go back to the guti, get my bat, and come back. And when I come back, nobody's filming, nobody's there. So, of course, just the wrong video is the only one out there, which that's okay. I mean, it makes for better video, right? If everything was perfect, who cares about that? So I wanted to document that for sure. I think I've been through 3 ceremonies now. I've only been an actual monk for 2 days. I've been through 3 ceremonies. I sat next to a very senior monk, and this guy was really, really cool and really helpful in that I don't have a lot of the accessories that you're supposed to have as a monk. Like, I don't know, when you sit down and it's time to eat, you have this cloth that you put across your knees to catch any rice or food that drops onto your jiwan. This isn't jiwan, but you're wearing a jiwan. when you're at a ceremony. And I don't have that. And there's a napkin type thing you dab your mouth with. I didn't have that either. I don't know what you're supposed to have. I just don't have it. So I looked at the senior monk and I kind of pointed at the cloth, and he just nodded like that. Maybe he thought I was saying, "Is that a cloth?" And he said, "Yeah, that's a cloth." But what I meant was, "Is this mine? Is this set up for me? Do I go ahead?" Because they set up water and they set up different things for different people. And it's kind of hard to tell who's what belongs to who. And so I started dabbing my mouth and that. And then when the ceremony's over, we get up to go, and he wraps it up and puts it away. And it was his. In other words, so the very senior monk, I'm wiping my mouth with his stuff. That was another thing that was interesting. So the gong goes off, and I walk down to the big sala, the big ceremonial hall, and all these people are there, civilians. We say yom. If you're not a monk at the temple, you're a yom, you're a non-monk. So all these yom are there, and bowing and all this, and all the monks, except for me, are lined up and getting ready to go through some procedure. That's just sitting on a specific mat, and I show up in my angsa. I don't have my jiwan. This is called angsa. Again, angsa. It would be spelled A-N-G-S-A, I suppose. It's worn with your right shoulder exposed. Angsa. I don't have my jiwan. And so the senior monk's like, "Turn around, go get your jiwan." So I had to go get my jiwan, walk all the way back to the guti through the jungle, and then back to the main sala. And I didn't stand around the corner and put it on in front of all the people that were there for the ceremony on the stage. I wrapped my jiwan, went through the whole procedure. It is a procedure. Again, that's another video. It takes time. You got to do it right, or it doesn't stay on. It'll fall. Mm-hmm. And so in front of everybody, I did that. It wasn't embarrassing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a big deal. People were heckling me or anything. It's just one of those things that happened, and that happened.